Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. It's day 218. I cannot believe it. Coming to you from my deck. It is a Saturday morning. We have a threat of some storm clouds. And I kind of give myself a little bit of a Sabbath on the weekends to rest. I exercise and go hard every day with work and everything. So I kind of let my guard down on the weekend. That's what we're going to talk about today. That was the thread that I was picking up from Luke chapter 5. And there's a couple of examples in this chapter of literally letting down. And in order to let down, let go, allow miracles in, we've got to let our guard down. That's hard to do as humans because we literally have like a biological, like survival brain that is constantly scanning for threats. And so we've got a few scenes here, and it starts off with Jesus being, so his ministry got launched in chapter 4. So he's out traveling around and teaching and preaching the good news. And he is on a shore in Galilee. And it's crowded, but he sees a couple of boats. And fishermen, they're nearby owners of the boats, and the fishermen washing their nets. So he goes up to one of them and says, "Hey, can I get in your boat?" And he teaches just off the shore from the boat. And this happens to be Simon's boat. This is the boat's owner. So this is where he meets Simon, which is kind of exciting, who later becomes Peter. And after he's done preaching, he says, "Hey, Simon, can you take me out a little bit further where the water's a little bit deeper?" And he says, "Okay." And then he says, "Now let down your nets." Let down. But Simon is still a bit guarded. He's like, we fished all night. We came up empty-handed. I just don't think there's any fish." And he says, "Just trust me. Let your nets down." And then they catch so many fish that the weight from the fish, the haul, starts to tear the nets. And Simon is just beside himself with gratitude. He even drops on his knees and asks for forgiveness. And I think that's maybe for the doubting, for having his guard up. So literally we have a scene here where he's asked to let down his nets, let down his guard, let down his maybe expectations, to be disappointed, to be open to possibility, to miracle, to whatever will happen. And he is just overwhelmed. And then they get back with their fish, and the sons of Zebedee, James and John, are also in the boat too. And he says, "From now on, you will become fishers of men." Then he meets, the next story we get is a healing a man with leprosy. This man also lets down his guard. He's like, "What have I got to lose?" When he meets Jesus, he falls down on his knees and says, "If you're willing to heal me, I'm willing to be healed. I'm open for a miracle. I'm letting my guard down, my expectations." He's allowing possibility in. So that's the flip side of this. When we let our guard down, we allow ourselves not only to be disappointed, but we allow ourselves to be blown away by the miracles that are coming. The next story is Jesus healing a paralyzed man. This one gets me every time I read it. I'm not sure exactly why, but they're on a deep level. There's something that I resonate with all the characters in this story. But there is a paralyzed man, and his friends want him to be healed. So they carry him on a sleeping mat to Jesus. And Pharisees are here watching. They're inside a building, evidently. They don't tell us exactly where this is taking place, but it's inside. Jesus is inside of a structure with a roof. And it's too crowded. They can't get the paralyzed friend to Jesus. So they actually go through the trouble of climbing on the roof, raising the paralyzed man up to the roof, disassembling some of the roof, taking off the tiles enough to lower him down. Like, I just stopping to think about the logistics of all of this and the time in way back, thousands of years ago. They didn't have like wheelchairs and different things that we probably have now. So and even maybe pulley systems, or how did they do this? Like, just the engineering that this took and the strength. Boy, this talk about, we have a lot of letting go here and letting down of their guard. Like, they're desperate, like, and they love their friend. They let their guard down even in that respect. Like, we love this friend so much. I just, and he had to probably have let his guard down. When you're the person that needs tending to, you hate being a burden to people. He allowed himself to be a burden, to, there's a lot that's going on there. So they literally lift up, carry over, and let down this friend right in front of Jesus. And Jesus takes that opportunity to not just heal and say, hey, you're healed, because he knows the Pharisees are watching. He allows them to see. He lets his guard down even a little bit and takes a risk and says, I forgive you of your sins. He doesn't say, get up and walk. And knowing that this is going to cause a moment among the crowd here, and especially with the Pharisees. And because he's Jesus, he could read their minds and their hearts, and he knows they're just appalled. You don't have the authority to forgive sins. Only God does. Who do you think you are? And he says, oh yeah, I do have the authority. Watch, I will heal him and show you the authority that I have, not only to heal, but to forgive sins. And so then he tells the young man to get up, take his mat, and go. And he doesn't just get up, he jumps up. But there's a lot of letting go, of letting down the guard in front of, like, God, the Pharisees and teachers of law. They view themselves as God's guards. Like, we are going to protect God from anybody and everything. So they don't let their guard down at all. And so they miss out. They miss out on the very thing that they want to happen. They're blocking it. And they're by keeping their guards up, not only their guard up personally, but they see themselves as God's guard, and therefore they're actually against God because they're so guarded that they can't even see what's happening right in front of them. They won't allow themselves to believe it, because my goodness, what if they're wrong? They're probably, their intent was good, but that type of strong guardedness, and we see that a lot in people today, even people that say they are Jesus followers, and church and religion, that people do the same, are doing the same thing to God today. They feel like they're God's protectors and God's guarders, and they prevent so many people from knowing God and from God getting into places. Of course, we don't really have the power to do that. God still finds ways, because there are enough willing people who do let their guards down, to let the truth in and the good news that none of us deserve God, and we all deserve God, because we all deserve love, and God is love. Oh boy. So Jesus continues to be this example of letting the guard down. And what that does is also let other people let their guard down, let love in. And he goes and has a feast at Levi or Matthew's house, the tax collector. And the religious people are like, how can you eat with people, with such sinners? And then he reminds us, I came for the sick, not for the healthy, or those that think they are righteous. And compares himself to a doctor. No, he doesn't do that in Luke. I think he did that in Mark. But anyway, he came for those that need healing, and not for those who think they are righteous. And that's when you have your guard up, that's exactly what you're thinking you are. And he came for those who know they are sinners and need to repent, which is all of us, because we're human. Hello. And then he talks about the wineskins and the new way versus the old way. Because again, the religious teachers come in questioning, like, wait a minute, John and his followers, they fast, and all of the other teachers of the day, they are fasting. Why aren't you, and then you people over here are feasting? Like, what's going on here? And he says, compares himself to a groom and a wedding feast. Would people fast at a wedding? No. When the groom is with them and when they're at the wedding party, they feast. They're going to have time to fast later, but right now we're feasting. And he's showing people a new way, which means, and you can't mix old and new. He is saying you can't put new wine into an old wineskin, it will burst. If you took, if clothes needed mending, older clothes needed mending, you don't cut up a new garment and ruin a new garment. And plus, even if you did do that, the new material, when you put it and patch it in the old, it doesn't match up. And so you're going to ruin both things. It doesn't work. So he is using these analogies to show that he has a new way. And you've got to let your guard down. You've got to let what you think you know, what you, sometimes even following the rules and what you think you should be doing, to let in the possibility, to let God in, to let love in, and let love do his work. As long as you are operating in love, you're probably going to be okay. And the people around you and that you come into contact are going to be okay. They're going to be better for it. When we get too caught up in the rules and the law and being right and putting up a front and, all the things that we do, that's having our guard up all the time. We keep God out. We keep miracles out. We keep love out. We keep goodness out. And that's a hard thing to do, because even right now, even thinking of that as a parent, it's my job to guard my child and my job to protect And all of those are true and it's good, but I can't be so protective and so guarded that I don't equip them for life, that they get a twisted version of what love looks like. Love allows, love is expansive. A love allows for possibilities. Love gives room for growth and for people to be on their own journey. And when, so as God's people, it's a fine line, I think, to walk. Again, Jesus, this is why he had to come and role model it for us. It takes nuance and finesse and understanding, which is hard to get from just reading and taking things literally. You've got to sit with things and allow it. You've got to let your own guard down, your own trying to interpret and force. You've got to let the word, you have to let the word come in and do its thing, and get yourself and your guard out of the way. I hope I'm doing justice to it. But even as I sat with it in my mind this morning, I woke up with like a feeling of like scatteredness. I sat out there and tried to sort of ponder and meditate, and I was blocking it. I even saw that in myself, like, okay, all of this other stuff is blocking you allowing the word in. So I had to get real quiet and real, I had to let my own guard down and let go of some of the other things that I was sort of guarding in my life, trying to force and worry, through worry or through thinking about too much, and, let that stuff go, to let my guard down and let the word in. And as soon as I did, then I see all these literal examples in chapter 5, Luke chapter 5, of letting in, letting down, letting go, all of this allowing that he was asking people to do, in new ways and by example, so that he could come in and show them, hey, with God, all things are possible. You just let me do the miracle working. You just let go and let God. I know we hear that all the time, but man, it is so true and so powerful. So I'm going to try to walk this out a little bit more today. And sometimes you need to just let yourself sit. That's the other thing I've kind of been thinking about and pondering more is, we've got these devices in our hands all the time, and our to-do lists and people to take care of and things to take care of, like so much. And we have brains and we have bodies and we have organs and nervous system and our gut. Like we have all these centers of intelligence that operate all the different aspects of our being. And sitting and just sitting and maybe looking at nature, walking, it doesn't have to be just sitting, but letting go and letting your guard down with all of the worldly things that you are responsible for, and just allowing yourself to be a being and connecting to nature, closing your eyes, connecting to yourself, allows all of these parts of yourself, all these different intelligence systems, to communicate together and get online. And so that your energy becomes more aligned, you feel more grounded versus the scattered, like I dealt with even this morning. I had my brain off doing this thing. My nervous system was sort of, focused on my to-do lists and was a little bit fired up. And all of those talking to each other in that way, just, cycle. It's like when dogs, are together and one barks and the other. Like, energy is contagious, even within ourselves. So in order to settle that down, so it takes some quietness and letting your guard down and allowing all the parts of you to talk to each other, to get online. Anyway, I kind of went off topic with that. But I even saw that kind of example even with the friends. Why did I say 5? It doesn't say that in the Bible. Maybe because it's chapter 5, that's where that probably came from. But however many friends it took to lower this paralyzed man down, that was a collective coming together, letting our guard down, and the willingness to allow for a miracle, allowing themselves to possibly be even disappointed. But even when they met with disappointment initially, with it being too crowded and not being able to get in, they were determined. They were like, no, we're going to really go for it and allow for the miracle that we know is possible. And so we're going to find a way. And they worked together collectively for this friend. I mean, that story, again, that just, I want some friends like that. Do you have friends like that? I want people like that. And I want to be that for somebody else. Like, just being able to come together, collaborate, be of like mind for love. There's love at the center of that. They love this person, and he must have really loved them in order to be able to allow that and have that from the friends. And that we even have to collectively do that for ourselves. Allow all the parts of ourselves, instead of fighting against each other, to come together in love, to support us, and even do that kind of thing for ourselves internally. That we are worth it, and to love ourselves enough, and to know that we can claim miracles through love. Love is like the gateway. When we let our guard down, because when we have our guards down, up too high, that's fear. That is fear at the core of it. And perfect love casts out fear, and God is love. So anyway, if you've got your guard up about something in your life, maybe try a new approach, a new wineskin. Put some new wine in some new wineskin, and try letting your guard down and using an approach of love. This is a question I've been asking myself a lot lately, just to simplify it, my own kind of mind management and self-coaching question, to boil it down to a nutshell. What would love do here? Not my version of love, but like real love. What would love do here? And sometimes love lets things go, lets the guard down. Sometimes love has tough conversations, but love is always honest. Love is always honoring. Love is always kind and respectful. I don't know. So if that works for you, take it and run with it. Try using it. But it has been something that has really been helping me. Anyway, so let your guard down. Try it. Just try it, and allow for the possibilities. And maybe you too can catch a whole haul of fish, become a fisher of men, be healed of something that has got you paralyzed in life. All the things. Luke chapter 5, there's a lot of stories, a lot in there, in those stories. And maybe you will get a different message that you need. And that is the beautiful thing about the Bible, is that you can read it for yourself and get a special message just meant for you from God when you sit with it. Let your guard down and let love in. All right, rise and shine.